ज़्यादा खिलाओ मत, आग लग जाएगी, बहुत अल्कोहल है उसके अंदर।
And with that, hi guys, welcome to the Desi Crime Podcast and welcome to a very special episode of Chai and Chithi, where our chai today is going to be spiked with a little alcohol.
A lot of alcohol.
A lot of alcohol.
Yeah.
So the Desi Crime team is in Goa today. We're on our retreat and we thought what could be more fun than telling horror stories as we get progressively drunk.
And as each of our team members makes a drink that gets us progressively more and more drunk.
So this is a competition of sorts within the team where every member will be creating one cocktail inspired by Desi crime or anything we've done. And with each story, we're going to drink, that cocktail, the aforementioned beverage. And at the end of the episode, we will rank from 1 to 6 our favorite drink. The winner gets a prize. That's right
to
there.
To be revealed.
It's a prize that should incentivize you to win. But more than the prize incentivizing you to win, it's the punishment that will
disincentivize.
I don't know if I pronounced that correctly. Disincentivize you from losing. And the punishment is, as you can see on the horrid faces of all our team members here, the punishment is 3 shots for women and 4 shots for men. And before you jump on to me saying, you sexist pig,
I fought for this, you girls. I fought for the fact that we women on this team...
Explain your rationale.
My rationale is that our punishment cannot be 4 shots if the men's punishment is 4 shots.
Anyway, Aishwarya argued, she rallied the other women on the team.
Let's go.
And they kind of got behind her. So it's 3 shots for the girls and 4 shots for the guys as the punishment. Okay?
And so with that, we'll move on to making the first cocktail. We pick chits on who goes first, who goes last. I am going first. So I'm the first one making the cocktail, making everyone try it, having everyone rank my cocktail, and then we'll get down to reading our first story. If this tastes like shit. I'm going first. This is so nonsense. 1 second, guys. It's totally off. ये 1 drink का डाला है मैंने अंदर.
Actually, are you sure?
Yeah. That much? Enough? Oh, very good. Don't do that many. I'll do this. 40 per glass, guys. What? 3 ounces per drink जाना है. तो कितना हुआ? Pineapple juice की जगह मुझे Sprite डालनी पड़ रही है.
ज़्यादा खिलाओ मत, आग लग जाएगी, बहुत अल्कोहल है उसके अंदर। ग्रेनेडिन ज़्यादा है इसके अंदर अब।
तो ये अभी लग रही है देसी का इंस्पायर्ड ड्रिंक अभी तक नहीं ना?
आई एम श्योर टेस्ट की भी मार्क्स हैं इसमें।
The car's going in.
हाँ, ये रहा।
Okay. My drink is called Dead Weight. It's inspired by a crime in the water. This is a water body, a lake and an ocean. And this is the blood from the crime.
होली के बाद ना कपड़ों में से ऐसा कलर निकलता है।
It's terrible.
I like it.
It's little too sour. नींबू ज़्यादा है.
I think सबका अलग-अलग होगा. Alright, with that horrendous cocktail out of the way now, let's begin with our first story. It reads, Hey Aryaan and Ash, I'm S from Assam and I'm 15 years old. I've been a fan of your podcast ever since my friend recommended it to me and I've watched all of the episodes in a month or so. Chai and Chithi is probably my favorite. I'm a true horror fanatic, like I love anything horror and I've been like that since I was very little. You're my kind of person. I've always been fascinated with the unknown and the unseen. So here's my experience with the paranormal. Might be a little long and no part of this is exaggerated. When I was about 10 years old, my dad told me about a chilling experience he had during his college days. He had gone to Jorhat for law school, a city close to his hometown. Usually, he commuted back home, but one evening, heavy rain left him stranded. With no transport available, it was the late 90s after all, he had no choice but to stay the night in a nearby hotel. My dad always preferred sleeping in complete darkness, so after settling in, he turned off the lights and went to bed. Somewhere in the middle of the night, a loud crash shattered the silence. He jolted awake. The unmistakable sound of breaking glass echoed through the room. He quickly switched on the light. There, on the floor, lay a drinking glass, shattered into 100 tiny pieces. It had been on the table when he went to sleep. There was no wind, no movement, no one else in the room. A rational person like you and I might have taken this as a sign to leave immediately, but not my dad, who's a macho man, went back to sleep. It was then that he saw a woman in his dreams who said, "Look down, I'm right under your bed." Aryaan, if a glass broke in your room, your hotel room, randomly, where there is no wind, no windows, let's say.
I really hope this glass broke right now. But that's not happening.
I'm going to show you guys watching this, it's not that bad, all right? In my opinion.
just look at everybody's faces. It's just horror.
They're exaggerating.
Yeah.
But okay, what would you do if a glass broke randomly? Is that your sign to leave the hotel room?
No, Ash, this happened last night when we were all sleeping.
Okay, I broke that glass.
And yeah, at 3 in the morning, after watching 2 horror movies, I hear a chung come when I come out. So no,
But what if you were alone in this home and it broke downstairs?
I'd lose my shit.
Right, that's what I'm...
Yeah, so okay. Yeah, in this case,
In this case, you would
I'd
leave
lose
the
my
hotel
shit.
room. Okay.
No, I wouldn't leave the hotel room. I'd be scared.
And you'd go back to sleep.
And then I'd investigate. And if I cannot find the culprit, I'll go back to sleep.
Culprit in an empty hotel room? What are you
No,
talking
the culprit
about?
being an inanimate thing like wind or something like that.
You just said there's no wind. What are you saying?
No, but I'm saying I would have tried to find whatever the culprit is, right?
Okay. The woman in his dream said, "Look down, I'm right under your bed." It felt so real, like the woman was daring him to look down, but he didn't. He had no other choice but to spend the night because it was already too late. Later, he found out that the wife of the owner of the hotel had died in that very same room. She had taken her own life. To this day, my dad swears by what he experienced that night. And after hearing this story, I've never been able to sleep in a hotel without thinking about what might be lurking beneath the bed. Years have passed since that incident with my dad. I was in a hotel room with my sister, a place I'd stayed in many times before. Yet this time, we had booked a different room. My mom and aunt were
The
in a
same hotel where the dad initially heard the thing?
No, it just says in a hotel room
Okay.
with the writer's sister, but they booked a different room than the one that they usually book.
Okay, the one you usually book. Yeah, it's affecting your throat, this drink, isn't it?
All right. My mom and aunt were in a separate room, leaving just my sister and me. I was thrilled, just like any other teenager. For the first time, I had a hotel room without any adult supervision. The sense of freedom was exhilarating. As always, I claimed the bed near the window. I loved watching the city come alive at night, the headlights of passing cars and trucks painting streaks of light across the dark streets. I often wondered about the people inside them, where they were headed, what their lives were like. I wanted to sneak out and explore the city like the adrenaline-chasing and risk-taking person I am. But to my disappointment, my sister had already fallen asleep the moment we got to the hotel, exhausted. I, on the other hand, couldn't sleep. My body was tired, but my mind refused to rest. Instead, I stared out of the window, lost in my thoughts, until sleep finally claimed me. Sometime during the night, I woke up to the sound of a whisper. Someone was whispering my name, my childhood nickname, their voice soft, almost affectionate. I woke up, excited and expecting to see my sister trying to wake me up, to maybe explore the city at night when everyone's asleep. But when I turned, she was still fast asleep, on my right side, and whoever it was had whispered it in my left ear. To my left was only the window. No one was there. A shiver crawled down my spine. The room was eerily silent, except for the low hum of The fans? I sat up, my breath hitching. Every fan in the room was on, their blades spinning lazily in the dim glow of the bedside lamp. But I knew for a fact that I hadn't turned them on. It was December, why would I? I wanted to wake my sister up, to tell her what had happened, but I hesitated. If she knew, she would refuse to stay in the room, and that would mean sharing it with my mom. I wasn't ready to give up my freedom just yet. So I laid back down, staring at the ceiling, forcing myself to believe it was just my imagination. But deep down, I knew better. Even now, I can still hear that voice in the back of my mind, lingering like a distant echo. Sometimes I wonder if she, whoever she is, just needed someone to listen. I think she'll be happy to know I'm moving to that city next year. I'll be alone this time, starting high school. And somehow, I have this feeling she'll come to meet me again. That's a really well-written story for you said you're a 15-year-old. That's actually really crazy. And the fact that you were that excited to explore a new city when you were much younger than that, I love that for you.
Something about when people start stories with, I'm not exaggerating anything. Feels
Makes you
to me it's
believe
written
that
in
they're not
earnest,
exaggerating. And this one does feel in earnest. The way you've described your own experience of being in that room, how you felt looking out of that window, it just feels really heartfelt. But that is terrifying. Something about hotel rooms is really non-scary. It's like they have no history, they have no soul.
They're
almost.
standardized.
They're
Yeah,
very
they're soulless.
standardized.
That's a good way of saying it. Yeah.
But so I've never heard of a hotel room scary story, but this one's scary.
I'm not gonna lie. The one thing on my mind
Is this drink?
was how much lemon is there in this drink? Because it sneaks up on you,
I'm gonna say.
and my throat is closing up with each sip.
There is a tad too much
There
lemon.
is so
There's like at
much-
least 4 lemons.
There is so, and she wanted to put more.
More, yeah. I will be completely honest. I did get this recipe off of Chai and Chithi. So if this is completely like the wrong amount of ingredients, you know who to blame.
You.
Okay,
You.
sorry, geez.
100% you.
All right, now we gotta finish this drink.
Yeah, we'll try before we get on with the next story and the next cocktail.
Their fingers stuffed with flesh, whatever.
Oh my! और जिन देखो तो कौन सी जिन? उदयपुर में कुछ कंटेंट हो गई। ये भी कह दो ना, बोल दो। Guys, ये मुझे हिट हो रही है। This is all.
Okay. So, this is the drink. The inspiration was dismemberment. I've used the jelly to resemble flesh. So it's fleshy bits, it's gross, it has a finger in it. And the drink is called In Loving Memory of.
Wow.
Now we have our second cocktail in hand. It's called In Loving Memory of. Nobody's really saying it, but it's a big step up from what we were previously subjected to.
I'm sorry, my God.
I'm not gonna lie. So we've been in Goa for more than 24 hours now. The team has been having a good old time. We've had, we had a little wine and a few beers at the beach in the morning.
Yeah.
That previous drink, say whatever you want about it.
It
it's
was
hitting.
strong.
It's hitting all of us. And so I don't know how eloquent my read is going to be, but...
Yeah, I was just saying everything is a little bit blurry to me already.
And this is just number 2, and there are 6 of us. Hi guys, I'm Ishan. First of all, I absolutely love and adore your true crime podcast and all of you, Aishwarya, Aryaan, and your editor. Kudos to you, man. Evan, I think. His story, the one about him sneaking into his girlfriend's house, cracked me up. One day I was randomly venting to my friend A about how I hate waiting for new true crime episodes and how I absolutely crave a more casual yet informative podcast. That's when she introduced me to your podcast. I was absolutely hooked, and in the short span of 2 weeks, I've listened to all your episodes on Spotify, and I immediately subscribed to you guys from YouTube when a special... Yep, that's going to happen. And you're going to get a lot of lists. Yeah. And I immediately subscribed when that special person begged. I've always been scared of lifts. I don't even know why. Maybe it's the way the door seals shut, cutting you off from everything. Maybe it's the feeling of being trapped, suspended between floors. relying on cables that could snap at any moment. Now I'm scared of lifts because I've never thought of it like that.
You haven't? I feel like lifts have always been a little bit scary. And here's what I feel like Delhi lifts in other cities, fine, they can be normal. Lifts in Bombay still have those like terrifying grills in front. And I haven't seen those in India in a while.
I
and
would
I see
much
them in
rather
Bombay.
be in any Bombay chain lift than
Nuh-uh.
Aishwarya's apartment lift.
What's wrong with my apartment
It
lift?
is the scariest lift
No,
I've
it's
ever
not.
That lift operates on its own schedule.
Insert here a clip of my lift. It's not that bad.
It opens 10 seconds after reaching the floor. For 5 seconds, you think you're stuck. Evan is nodding yes in the background because he's seen it. It is the door closes like this. It stays there for a while, then it seals shut. You can hear the rickety cables go through. How the is it not the scariest?
I think it's not the scariest thing because it has a glass in the back, which Bombay lifts
So
don't.
others can see you fall to your death. It wasn't a fear that controlled my life though, just an unease I learned to ignore. Until that night. It was past 9 p.m. when I finally packed up to leave work. Most of the office was already dark with only a few screens glowing from late workers. It was a tough day, tougher than usual, and me and my late staying co-workers were definitely drunk. Our branch's head had gone home after all. I was exhausted, barely thinking as I made my way to the elevator. I pressed the button, the door slid open. Empty, nothing out of place. I stepped inside and hit the ground floor button. The doors closed, sealing me in. The descent was smooth at first, the usual hum filling the space. I leaned back, scrolling through my phone, waiting for the ride to end. But halfway down, the elevator jerked to a stop. My stomach lurched. I waited for the doors to open, but they did not. The button panel was still lit, but when I pressed a button, nothing happened. I hit the emergency button, nothing happened. The silence stretched. I took a deep breath. It was fine. The building was old. It was probably just a temporary glitch. Then the elevator dropped. Not a long fall, just a sudden stomach-churning jolt. My knees buckled and I grabbed the railing to steady myself. Then silence again. I exhaled shakily. That was normal, right? Elevators had safety brakes. It was just resetting itself. But then something changed. The air felt different. Not colder, not stuffy, just off. And then the lights flickered. A small instinctive panic started to rise in my chest. I reached for my phone, gripping it like a lifeline. The screen showed no signal. I tapped the emergency button again. Nothing. I took another breath. Don't panic. Then I heard it. A faint thud from above. I froze, listening. It wasn't the usual creaking of an old elevator. This was something heavier. Another thud. Closer. I looked up at the ceiling vent. My heartbeat slammed against my ribs. It was too small for anyone to fit through, wasn't it? Then came a sound I will never forget. A slow, deliberate scrape, metal against metal. Something was above the elevator. I pressed myself against the wall, heart hammering. The sound moved, something shifting, adjusting, and then silence again. I didn't move, did not breathe. Then the vent creaked. Something was pushing against it. I hit the buttons frantically, any button, but the panel did not respond. The emergency alarm did not work. My phone was still useless, and then bang! The vent cover shifted slightly, and my stomach twisted. Someone or something was trying to open it, and I had to get out. I pounded on the door, shouting for help. My own voice sounded small in the enclosed space. Then, as suddenly as it had stopped, the elevator dropped again. Not a long fall, just a sharp, violent jolt. The vent above rattled but did not open. The lights flickered once more, and then the elevator door slid open. I stumbled out before I could even see where I was. My legs felt shaky, my chest tight. I turned back to look at the elevator, expecting to see nothing. The ceiling vent was intact. The inside looked normal, quiet. Had I imagined it? I glanced around. I wasn't on the ground floor. The hallway was unfamiliar, dimly lit, silent. It looked like a service floor, one I had never seen before. But it was something very unusual since my office building had many floors, mine being on the topmost ones. The door started to close. And in the last moment before they shut completely, I swore I saw a shadow move in the vent. Or so I thought. I find myself doubting myself too these days. I ran. I don't remember how I found my way to the stairwell, only that I sprinted down the steps until I reached the ground floor lobby, panting. The security guard barely looked up as I rushed past him. You okay? He called out. I stopped, trying to steady my breathing. Then I asked, do the elevators ever get stuck? He frowned. Which one? I gestured behind me, the one on the. I turned to point, but the elevator wasn't there. Just an empty wall where it should have been. I stared, my blood running cold. I think you're tired, the guard said, shaking his head. The elevators are down that way. He pointed in the opposite direction. I did not argue. I just nodded and left the building as fast as I could. I don't know what happened that night, but I still refused to take the elevator. So yes, the story had no paranormal occurrences, as you prefer, but it definitely has me shaking as I write this. I hope you enjoyed this and picked this for your Chai and Chithi. Either way, I hope your team had a good, maybe thrilling time reading this. Bye.
Had no paranormal occurrences.
Dudes
There was
tripping
an
balls.
elevator that did not exist that saw screeching sounds
Oh yeah,
and violent jolts.
yeah.
This reminds me, any fear I have of elevators comes from this movie called The Devil. I don't know if anyone that's viewing this has watched it,
Yeah.
but it's this movie with 5 complete random strangers that get stuck in this elevator in this corporate office New York building, and slowly, one by one, they start dying inside this
And is one of
closed
them the
elevator.
murderer?
It's not a murderer. There's like a spirit thingy. There's a connection between these 5 people. It's a terrifying movie. It's a great movie. I love it, but it reminds me of that.
Yeah.
But that's scary. Thanks for a new fear.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, not new for those of us who have visited
Already
our house. but
been to my house,
We're scared
so worse.
shitless of Great North elevators. But yeah, that was great.
That was great, as is this drink. I'm really enjoying
As
this.
is this drink, yeah. I mean, the quality of stories has so far been directly proportionate to the cocktail itself. But with
Damn.
that, we can move on to the third story and the third cocktail of the night.
This is incompetence on part of the bartenders.
छोटी वाली नहीं थी पेप्सी कोक सॉरी
ध्यान से बोल ब्रांड देख रहे हैं
Guys, this drink is inspired by a drink I came across in Spain called Kali Mojo. Kali Mojo is a drink they do, which is Coke mixed with red wine. I have a sort of iteration of that. I call this drink blasphemy because when I first saw spoiling red wine with Coke, it's like that's a blasphemous act. But lo and behold, it tasted very good. And so what I have done is I've mixed rosé with Coke. The reason I added orange is because in most of the ceremonies where you get rid of ghosts, where evil spirits, you have that orange in which the evil is trapped, and then you cut it open and the evil escapes. So that's what the orange signifies. There's a bit of orange juice, there's a bit of lime juice in it. The other thing I thought was with the rim, initially I thought that I wanted to create that sort of ritualistic pentagon, like the ritual you have set up with beard, red powder, white powder. So that's what the rim signifies. Because I didn't have enough, I had to come up with that on the spot. But yeah, that's the drink. It's called Blasphemy, and I hope you guys like it.
I would just like to point out as one half of Desi Crime, काफी loose Desi Crime collection.
Okay.
But we got this.
It's just so sad to see somebody who knows of their defeat.
Yeah. I like it. All right, so with that, we have drink number 3 by Aryaan. A very interesting combination of Pepsi, Coke.
Coke.
Coke and
Whoever sponsors,
wine,
that's the beverage
whoever
we've
this
used.
is,
But
hiding the side here. But Coke and wine, I like it. The connection to Desi Crime is a little bit shaky. Also, half of us got these bottles with oranges shoved down the
okay,
rims.
I'll be, as much as I thought she's going to be fair and honest in her assessment.
I think I'm
she's-
being really fair.
Everybody in the team liked the flavor a lot.
It's a good flavor, yeah.
The connection to, it's not a connection to Desi Crime, it's to Chai and Chithi. It's the name of the drink is Blasphemy. and other members of the team have also based their drinks on Chai and Chithi. Now it's okay that
They
you
based
based
it
yours on
much
Desi
better
Crime.
than you've based it.
Anyway, the point being that it's just a defensive mechanism.
Sure.
And it comes out now that we are, all getting drunk. But it's something you're learning about your favorite co-host.
We'll see when the drinks get rated, you guys. It's okay. With
Yeah.
that, let's move on to our next
Yeah.
Chai and Chithi story.
I don't even care what it gets rated. I just want everybody to have a good time.
Right. It's totally what you want. Okay, the story begins. Hi, Aishwarya and Aryaan. My name is S. I started watching your Bhootbusters series before I discovered Desi Crime. You're one of those rare people.
See, so I can base it on Chai and Chithi or
It's totally
Bhootbusters,
not,
and
though.
that
Okay,
because
shut
there are
up.
people
No,
like that who.
And I've been hooked ever since. I always look forward to your episodes, so I have something to listen to while I slave away at work on weekends. I had to think about what exactly to write for you today because in my 25 years of life, I've encountered a handful of paranormal experiences that still send shivers down my spine every time I think about it. To add to that, 2 days ago, when I initially had the thought of writing to you guys, I experienced the scariest sleep paralysis only an hour after I fell asleep, where I saw a ghostly figure sleeping next to me. Thankfully, I fought my way out of the never-ending nightmare by chanting Om Bhur Bhavaswa to the best of my ability while my voice was all choked up. Then slept with the lights on and my mom on video call.
Ash, I'm not trying to discriminate between Hindu chants because I love all of them and I
Okay.
seek great solace from all of them. But if you had to rank a chant for ghostly situations,
Right.
where would you put, like, which one would be your number one? I think I know the answer, but
I feel like the Hanuman Chalisa is pretty much up
Right.
there. And maybe that has something to do with the fact that as kids we grew up with a lot of Hanumanji cartoons. And so the Hanuman Chalisa is kind of ingrained.
related to strength, almost.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And so movies related to Hanumanji,
Yeah.
like a lot of cartoons. So the chant is kind of in my head more than Om Bhur
Om Bhur
Bhavaswa
Bhuswa is a little, reminds me of like morning assemblies.
Right. Yeah, I can see that.
But yeah, Hanuman Chalisa,
It's right up there.
it's my go-to. I know friends from different
100%.
religions that while they wouldn't chant it themselves, if we were like scared shitless as kids and I would chant it, they would be like, thank
join
God that
it.
he's doing, thank
Yeah,
God
yeah.
he's doing it. Because if they would do it, it would be blasphemous, just like the name of this drink.
Wow, nice plug in for your drink there. Very cool. No, but for those of you who saw the Balaji episode, you know Aryaan is a crazy Hanumanji
Yeah.
sort of supporter and goes supporter.
Is election mein to.
I mean, looks to the God
I
in
do.
moments of fear, in moments when he needs that strength.
And gratitude as well.
And gratitude as
Yeah.
well. Right. So I think that for me also is right up there. But anyway, the email goes on. She stayed until I finally felt safe enough to go back to sleep. Maybe a little embarrassing for a 25-year-old to call her mom, but trust me, anyone would do the same if they saw the face that I did that morning. But that is not the story that I'm going to be sharing today. After finishing my 11th grade finals, my dad came to get me and flew me back to Nepal immediately. I just heard something.
उसको लगा भूत था. You're fine.
My holidays were just for a week and a half, so going back home didn't really make sense, but I was happy to be going anyway. After months of torturous board school dramas, I was comforted by the feeling of being home among my mom and siblings. My mom had come to pick me up at the airport, and during the drive back, she asked me if dad told me that my grandmother had passed away. The answer was no, but I wasn't surprised by this news. See, a month before my finals, there was a long weekend, and my dad had told me that he'd be coming to pick me up, and I'd spend that weekend in Delhi with him. But instead of showing up, he called the school to tell me that he was going home because my grandmother was sick. I knew then that something was wrong. My dad used to only come home during festivals or family emergencies, or if he had more than... I knew then that something was wrong. My dad used to only come home during festivals or family emergencies, or if he had more work to take care of. So when he left so suddenly, I knew something was up. They decided not to tell me anything up until that point because I was in boarding school, and that's in our culture are followed by many restrictions on what I can eat and what sort of entertainment I can engage in. Therefore, they figured I was better off not knowing because following all of that in school would be impossible. When I told my friends... The words are like merging together. When I told my friends this when we were hanging out, one of them told me how not being informed or being informed late. What is happening?
We are drunk, the team is drunk, they can't hold their
I can
giggles
see
in
them laughing in my peripheral vision.
peripheral vision.
That's the correct terminology. When I told my friends this when we were hanging out, one of them told me how not being informed or being informed late like that can conjure some paranormal activities. They try to haunt you or something, he said.
Wait, if you're not informed of the death of a relative,
Of a relative or informed late, it can
They-
make certain paranormal stuff
have you ever heard of
happen.
that before?
I haven't, nope. But I haven't heard of a lot of shit that these people write into us.
touche.
Okay. I brushed it off as a superstition. Okay.
Continue.
One night, me and my sister were having similar conversations. We like talking about ghosts and revisiting the experiences we've had. We often laugh about how scared we were while still living in the same house where all of these hauntings were taking place. She suddenly said, "Actually, I had a dream about you once. Not really a pleasant one." I was intrigued. "What was it about?" I asked. She said, "I saw you and your roommate. You all were sleeping. Your bed was in the middle. There was this girl on your right who had a very weird energy about her. Let's call her Mira. I saw some dark entity standing on the edge of her bed, but that entity was staring at you. There was another one standing at the door of your dorm, a couple of feet from the
That's
other
scary.
entity, also staring at
That's
you."
scary.
She went on to describe the structure of my dorm and how we have 6 beds in our dorm room. My bed is in the middle with 2 on each sides and 3 in front of each of our beds. I sat there absorbing all of this information, baffled, confused, but mostly scared out of my wits. Not because she had this dream, but mostly because my sister has never seen my dorm. She's never even stepped a foot inside my school to this day. It was me and my dad who went in for admissions, and only my parents came to drop me off at school. She described my dorm room in such a detail as if she was the one living there. She then asked me, "Your roommate, she doesn't believe in God or something?" She didn't. She was an atheist, which I'm not judging because I think we've all questioned the existence of God and our belief system at some point. Our horror story ended, but my event of horror didn't end there.
Ask your question.
Yeah.
Last night we did a sort of team horror movie watch together, and the film we watched, what was the name again?
Black Phone we watched.
Black Phone.
Yeah.
And it also involves this girl that can dream of things she hasn't seen before.
Yeah.
That helps the police crack things. And I think we were all talking about whether this is an artifact of
Right.
astral projection, what kind of theory of the supernatural does it tap into.
Correct.
I'll take a step back and ask you, because I've never actually asked you this. Do you honestly believe dreams are connected to something beyond our understanding, beyond our physical realm? Or are they just, random neural synapses firing, and while sleep we just see things? Because, there's a normal explanation for that.
I will say that my experience of this and my answer to this question is limited by whatever it is that I've seen. And so, because I've never had a crazy experience with a crazy dream that shows me something that then goes on to be real, I would say no. But I keep going back to the T2 episode for questions like these, where it's someone else's story that makes me fundamentally question whether or not this really deep held belief is true or not. And so if this is a story, let's say it goes on to be verified by the University of Virginia, the way T2 story was, I feel like it'll make me question what I believe as well.
But don't you just, okay, let's take your dreams.
Yeah, I
Don't you
have crazy
think-
dreams, by the
Crazy
way, for
dreams,
that,
sure,
yeah.
but don't you think they reveal something about yourselves
About me, yeah, sure.
that the conscious self is not aware of?
Sure. The email goes on. I went back to school later that week, unpacked and settled in. School would start again in 2 days, and I wasn't ready to get back to class. It was the year we were all going to be stressed about the boards. After dinner, we all gathered in the common room, took attendance, hung out, and caught up on everything we did before we all had to retire to our beds. I went to sleep that night with the dream my sister had still playing on my mind. Around 2:30 a.m. ish, I started feeling very uncomfortable, as if I couldn't breathe. I tried to move, but alas, couldn't move either. I was sleeping with my knees up, hands on my stomach, trying to figure out what was happening, and soon realized it was yet another episode of sleep paralysis. I'm not someone who experiences sleep paralysis often, but when I do, it is the scariest thing ever. In this one, I was in a dream inside a dream, and in both, I was paralyzed, fighting to move, talk, or scream. I tried to reach my hand out to call Meera since her bed was closer to mine than others, but couldn't. I opened my eyes, and what I saw in front of me was horrifying. My grandmother was standing at the edge of my bed. There were two other figures beside her. One was just a dark, hollow entity to my left, and another was a man right in front of me. I don't remember the face or any of his characteristics. I still can't. But I do remember that night as clear as day. They didn't say anything. It was as if they were making sure I couldn't move or talk. They were just staring. At first. They had noticed that my eyes were open. My grandmother then said, "Get her," to the man, telling him to attack me. I was still trying to scream when suddenly Meera came and woke me up. She shook me awake before that man could attack me, and I said, "I heard you making strange sounds and thought you were having a nightmare. Are you okay?" "Yes," I said, relieved to be saved from whatever the hell that was. Thankfully, she was on her phone. She had snuck in, so she was the only person awake to hear me moan uncomfortably. I asked her to sleep in my bed that night and could finally drift off to sleep peacefully. I hope you enjoyed my misery, though it came I hope you enjoyed my misery, though it came to be a bit longer than anticipated. Thank you for taking the time to read it, and thank you all for the gory crime stories you cover. I hope your podcast stays even when we're old and grey. With lots of love. Scary, scary sleep paralysis. I keep going back to the fact that I have never experienced sleep paralysis.
That's crazy.
And some of these stories really make me want to experience it because a part of me wonders, like, what is this crazy feeling?
How many of you have experienced sleep paralysis?
Yeah, out here in the team. Just one.
Rosa. So Evan's girlfriend has. Probably from Evan sneaking into
You
her house.
have.
I once snuck into my girlfriend's apartment and I had to pretend to be their dog.
And pretending to be a
Yeah,
dog,
dog.
from the stories we know.
What was the name of the dog?
Scooby.
Scooby. Oh, we know he's right here right now. But I've experienced it thrice. I've experienced it thrice. When it's been sleep paralysis, it's been the scariest thing. Like top 10 scariest things I've experienced because it's literal paralysis. The world in your dream is moving. So for me, I've talked about this on the podcast before, where it was a dark forest. I saw trees. It was the Brazil FIFA World Cup. I watched one of the games until quite late because it was all at 3 a.m, you know, back then. Why I come back to dreams and I feel like there's something deeper and more meaningful about them. And I've, for the life of me, forgetting the psychologist who talks about it so beautifully. But I think when people talk about astral projection and all these things of how they can communicate with the underworld or whatever it is, maybe it's just lucid dreaming,
Right.
where they're able to access. I've lucid dreamt. I've lucid dreamt and been aware.
And people can make themselves lucid
You
dream,
can.
right?
You can practice lucid dreaming. It's one of my it's a bucket list item to practice and learn. There are quite a few techniques to do it. One is you can write the number 4 on your hand, and every day you look at that number and you look at 4 on your hand.
Yeah.
It's written there.
And then you see that in your dream.
And then in your dream, you don't see it.
Oh, you don't see it.
You don't see it. And
Okay.
that way you know you're in a
I
dream.
see.
Because it's on your hand all the time. That's one way to practice it. The other is writing about your dreams extensively. That just puts you in a state of... I think Inception is a great movie if you want to watch a sci-fi rendition of what a lucid dream looks like. But the one time I have lucid dreamt, which I vividly remember, I was like, I'm in a dream and I go, holy shit, I know I'm dreaming right now. And and I've read enough about lucid dreaming to know that one thing you can do in lucid dreams, what I did in my dream was I said, change the scenery. And
Nice.
just by doing this, I'm like, the scenery kept changing. And I was
Okay.
fully aware of the fact that I'm in a dream. Super cool, right? It's like you're in some transcendental
amazing.
state. And then I said, okay, I want to fly. And I started flying above, like, the road in Noida to our school. I started flying above it, and I couldn't really fly too high. I was like flying 10 feet off the road, but I was like, wow, I'm flying, and this is the coolest thing I've ever experienced. But maybe to me, because I know of it within the framework of lucid dreaming, I go, that's a lucid dream. Maybe somebody else could have gone, that's astral projection.
Right.
Just makes me wonder about how fascinating dreams are as a whole.
Which brings me to another question is that let's say you as Aryaan didn't really understand the concepts of lucid dreaming and astral projection or even sleep paralysis.
Sure.
Let's say you were born in the 1800s
Sure.
and were to experience all of this. What would you make of these experiences? And this is a study showing that experiences of the paranormal was so much more common when we didn't have the TV, when we didn't have the radio, when we didn't have a phone. So it's like the idle mind is more capable of creating these distractions sort of on its own. How much more likely were you to consider these paranormal situations?
I think Alan Watts talks about this. He says it's easy to identify yourself as a God man when you have an experience of awakening or an experience like lucid dreaming where you go, oh, of course I'm God. And then you veer into this path of spirituality and whether join a cult or form a cult because you've suddenly experienced this
Right.
state of ecstasy that the normal person doesn't have access to. But I think because you have the framework to understand that it's happening within a landscape of some normality, you go, oh, actually it's XYZ.
Right.
So sure, if I was born in the 1800s and I was flying while conscious of flying,
Yeah.
I'd be like, guys, I'm starting a
crazy.
cult,
Yeah.
follow it
Yeah.
and subscribe to the channel, the cult. Yeah.
All right. Well, with that, we come to the end of another story and we'll be going
Another
and
cocktail.
chugging these drinks that remain in our hands and moving on to the next drink now. We're awfully philosophical for two drunk people, bro.
Nobody's enthusiastic about this. Oh!
Oh my god, this is the worst thing I've had. It's the worst.
Oh god!
It's not going down. Guys, इसी के शॉट बचा के रख लो.
Name of the drink is flesh on a stick on the beach. Flesh on the beach. Like
Flesh on the stick on the beach.
like
Don't worry, आप हारने नहीं वाले.
You're in the safe zone.
Abhi Maria has one shot, which is the man behind the camera.
I'm sure I'm gonna lose.
Yes, so are we, Maria.
Pineapple
देखो कोकटेल तो बड़ी मिड है.
I know.
But
मेरा नाम तो खत्म
बट रोजा बहुत खुशी से पीऊंगा. वो खत्म भी करूंगा मैं ये.
How drunk is everyone on a scale of 1 to 10? बताना शुरू करो.
6.5.
5.
अच्छा बहुत चपड़ हो गई. अब स्टोरी में ही चपड़ की बारी है.
आयरन तुम
Okay.
फिर टांगे खोल के बैठ गए हो क्या?
Guys, this is cocktail number 5. We were technically supposed to be on cocktail number 4 because it's story number 4. But as you have just witnessed, there was a debacle, to say the least, that transpired
horrible.
with one of our editors' cocktails. It was, I think we can unanimously agree, one of
Worse
the worst
than
things.
mine.
Can you believe it was worse than what Aishwarya made? But it was genuinely horrid to put in my mouth. As she succinctly summed up, it was a Chai and Chithi horror story in and of itself. Probably the scariest I've ever heard. So right now we're on cocktail number 5, story number 4. This is made by Rosa. It's quite good actually. I mean, anything's good compared to whatever we were subject to. And so with that, on with the story. Hey, beautiful Aishwarya and the ever humorous Aryaan.
Ha, love that.
First of all, a huge shout out to both of you for running one of the best crime podcasts ever. I listen to every single episode and eagerly wait for Saturdays like a kid waiting for summer holidays. My absolute favorite segment is Chai and Chithi.
Oh shit, here we go again.
The way you present it, I could literally listen to it all day long. And Aryaan, I have to say, your new mustache look,
It's gone now.
it's gone now. Your new mustache look, absolutely fire. With detective
Damn.
vibes like if Sherlock Holmes.
Veer Pahadia has written this story, guys.
Like if Sherlock Holmes had a desi cousin who solved crimes while sipping on chai. It suits you. Not sipping on chai right now, but thank you. My name is mentioned in my email, but we'll use the second half of it for the story. I am Dan. Now on to my story. As you can see, I can barely narrate. My words are all over the place, but I'll try my best and put up with it. Before we begin, a fun fact. I've lived in a house right in front of a burial ground across the street for 23 years of my life.
Bloody hell.
Never seen a single ghost.
Okay, Aryaan, don't you live across a burial ground? Isn't there a burial ground right across from your...
Why the would you say that? No, I don't.
Isn't there one right, like, in that vicinity?
No, there isn't. And even if there is, don't make me aware about it. I'm not aware of a burial
Okay,
ground.
I'm pretty sure the editor on this episode will get back to you here in the comments somewhere. I'm like 80% sure there's a burial ground right
Yeah,
across from
just say
Aryaan's home.
yes or no. Don't disclose where I live.
I don't think this discloses where you live.
No white sari wearing atmas, no flickering streetlights, no creepy kids humming lullabies. Just a very peaceful, rent-free audience of the afterlife. But this story, this one messed me up. I can't narrate without laughing my ass off. It happened about a year ago. I have an Alexa Echo Dot, which I used to play podcast before sleeping. Guess whose voices lull me to sleep? Yup, yours.
Alexa's?
But my Alexa went through a phase where it randomly lit up at odd hours. Glitch, ghost, or AI rebellion, you decide. One night in the wee hours, I woke up unable to move. Sleep paralysis. Again, one more.
Nice.
I've had it before, but this time there was something extra. I had consumed the drink Maria made for me. What is it? Oh, wrong. Sorry. My chest felt heavy, like something was sitting on me. I could only move my eyes. That's when I heard it. Whispers coming from Alexa. At first, I thought it was some ad playing.
So much.
But the voice was too low, too breathy, almost like someone was standing right next to my ear. I couldn't make out the words, but I swear it felt like a conversation, just not one meant for me. The moment I could move again, I panicked and tried to turn on the lights with the voice command. Alexa, turn on the lights. Nothing. She beeped, acknowledged my command, but the lights stayed off. Tried again, same thing. That's when I noticed something outside my window. A shadow. It wasn't just standing there, it moved quite rapidly, almost like it leaped from one wall to another before disappearing onto my terrace. My heart said, investigate. My brain said, be a main character in a horror story? Not today. Was it a dream? A glitch? Who knows? I checked my Alexa app the next morning and guess what? There was no voice commands logged at the time I supposedly spoke. As I never said anything, my Alexa functioning just fine. Maybe it got a firmware update from the spirit world. I now side-eye my Alexa every night before sleeping. Anyway, I leave this mystery to you guys. You're the crime experts. So tell me, was it just tech messing with me, or do I need to start sleeping with a salt circle around my Alexa? See, that's what I did with the cocktail, the salt circle. Okay, anyway.
Okay,
all right.
very nice.
All right, thank you. Hope you had fun with this one, and maybe just be a little cautious the next time your gadgets respond when you didn't say anything. Cheers, Dan.
Firstly, I've always thought the whole like Alexa connected to your home thing
Super weird.
super weird.
Super weird.
Super like it gives Black Mirror like way in the
100%.
future. So my brain can't comprehend how that shit's connected to the lights in your home and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's really scary to me.
Yeah.
But also moving figure outside your window doesn't just seem like a tech glitch.
But I'm seeing sleep paralysis. So it's common to see moving figments.
Right, but that
The tech
combined
glitch,
with the tech glitch is
But
kind
again,
of...
I also think like you imagine things you say because
Right,
you're not
sure,
actually able to
sure,
say
sure,
anything
sure.
when you're tripping
I
balls.
will say this, there's a lot of Chai and Chithi episodes, I've said this before, where every episode I have a new thing that's the scariest thing in the world. This episode, I'll say, there's nothing scarier than a really rapidly moving figure. And there are some, right, okay? There are some YouTube, like short films, short horror
Oh,
films,
I
where
know.
there are these
The
really
Omeletto
fast
ones.
moving, exactly, the
Aishwarya,
Omeletto ones.
I have creeps thinking of it. Those Omeletto, if any of you want to see
Yes.
amazing films made by young people that will make you shit your pants, Omeletto is the channel to go to. There's this one with the clown while the guy is walking
Okay, I
down the
haven't seen
street
this.
at night. The clown just zip zaps
That
from one
rapid
place.
movement is terrifying, and I've only ever seen it in short films, never in actual horror movies. But I think it's so scary, and this kind of, it gives me that visual of that rapid moving figure.
You
I
know,
think that's
the
terrifying.
last time I saw rapid movement that scared a lot of people was when we consumed Maria's drink and the rapid movement with which everyone moved. Just, what did I have? So yeah, you're right. It does
That
connote
rapid movement is terrifying.
fear.
Side eyes to Maria. Yeah.
And with that, we move to the final story of the night. Guys, it's 3 in the morning.
It's not 3, it's 4, almost 4:30 now.
It's 3:48 in... Okay, anyway.
It's not
right.
3, it's
She
4.
needs to correct me.
मेरे को दिख नहीं रहे तुम लोग
बोलो मत, तो सोचता है imagination चल रहा है तुम्हारा।
वो कौन है पाकिस्तान वाला 50 मर्डर की और
Oh my.
50 cops him
ये वीडियो पे आया है।
आया है कौन on camera?
I think मेरा बन गया तो सोच लो कुछ और डालना है मुझे. If you're a Desi Crime fan, you would remember about this case we had a couple of 6-7 months ago about this Pakistani funeral home को क्या बोलते हैं? शमशान घाट where this guy is in graveyard. Misaki Jin.
Hence the color.
Hence the color. And my favorite Mogu Mogu flavor, which is
Nisaki Jin. My favorite Mogu flavor.
melon. It's Misaki Jin, melon, and apples together.
That's actually cool.
It's called. You will have it.
You have it. I like it. Say it. Lovely having everybody here.
वो क्या है? Ew.
All right, with that, we're at the last drink, which is...
Thank the Lord.
Thank the Lord. We have mixed, I think, 7 different kinds of liquor this entire night.
Yeah, and this particular one is been improvised by Evan altogether. It looks good, it tastes mid, and it has absolutely no connection to Desi Crime or Chai or anything. And he was ad-libbing his way through it like a Jimmy Fallon sketch. But still, thanks to Maria's horrendous performance.
Attempt.
Evan, I think, might have saved himself.
He might have. I think this is still strong. I think this is worse than my drink. Everyone else here seems to disagree.
Yeah.
All right, we'll drink our way through this and read our final story, which begins like this. Hey Aryaan and Aishwarya, my favorite hosts of Desi Crime podcast. Are there any others? It's just us.
So surprised to be.
I've been listening to your episodes for the last 2 years, and let me tell you, they've been my college lecture companions. We love you. I used to download the episodes from Spotify and tune in during my lectures to escape the monotony. But recently, I stumbled across a story you guys posted on Instagram about experiences that happened while you were drunk. And that's when it hit me. I've got a story of my own to share. You can call me S because my mom and dad both watch your episodes since the time I got them hooked, and I swear my mom can never know I was drunk doing this insane shit 3,800 kilometers away from home while I was supposed to be studying in college. But my dad, that guy's a cutie. He already knows. So listen to this. This happened in 2023 when I was in college in Bangalore. I had just finished my 4th semester exams and me and my friends were like, let's get drunk, go clubbing and have some fun before we head back home for summer break. We hit up this club called Rahi, had a blast, danced, drank, the usual college night out. But then, like any good bunch of crime, thriller, horror fans, we decided we needed something more. One of my friends and I were huge fans of dark, creepy places. We decided to explore some of the most haunted spots in Bangalore. We pulled up Google and after scrolling for a while, we stumbled across this cemetery.
By cemetery, you mean a funeral home?
funeral home को क्या बोलते हैं? मेरा शाहरुख खान को क्या बोलते हैं?
Kabristan, I mean a Kabristan. We stumbled across this cemetery. It says Kalapalli Cemetery, something like that. And the story of the cemetery, a man haunts the place, apparently. Perfect, right? So we grab a Zoom car and me, my girlfriend and 3 other guys decided to take this crazy adventure. We pull up to the cemetery at around 12:30 a.m. It was pitch dark and I can still see it so clearly. One side of the road had these tiny temples and the other had these railway tracks. It was so quiet, the only light coming from the far end of the tracks. We reached the gate, which was barely visible in the dark, and we stepped into the cemetery. Here's where it gets weird. As we're walking around, chanting the Hanuman Chalisa, because hey, why not, right? We spot this little hut near the prayer hall. There was an old woman who peeked her head out from inside. We thought she was the caretaker, so we decided to go up to her and ask her about the haunted man. But just as we were walking up, out of nowhere, a pack of dogs appeared and they started howling like crazy, surrounding us. We freaked out, huddled together, and slowly made our way to the hut. The hut didn't have a door, just a tiny entrance, and when we peeked inside, there was no one there. Absolutely nothing. The light inside was flickering like a bad horror movie. My friend and I decided to step inside for a second, thinking maybe there was another exit, but there was nothing. Just a tiny 4x4 room with one entrance. I'm telling you, it was like something out of a nightmare. We stood there for a second, trying to figure out if we were hallucinating from all the alcohol, but then we decided to leave. But as we walked away, we noticed something odd. There was a grave behind the hut. It was a small one, poorly covered with just some sand over it, and it caught our attention because, well, it was the grave of an 8-year-old boy. His face, man, I can still see it. We started talking about how tragic it was, how his parents must have felt. And then we heard it. A soft mumbling coming from somewhere near the grave. We looked, but we couldn't see anything clearly. My heart skipped a beat. I looked at my friends, but no one was saying anything. We decided to move a little further back and maybe check if the old woman was there just to make sense of the whole thing. And that's when we saw her again, sitting on the grave, talking to it. I can't even describe the chill that went down my spine. We froze. And then in a panic, we bolted straight to the gate. But here's the kicker. The gate was locked. I swear I could feel my pulse in my ears. We had no choice but to turn around and go back through the same entrance. And as we did, the guy who'd been with me inside the hut suddenly stopped and screamed. "Play the Hanuman Chalisa or we're dead," he said. When I turned to ask him what happened, he pointed to the grave of the boy, the one we'd just seen, the one that was all covered up and leveled. But it was different now. It was like the sand was fresh, like it had been dug up. Our hearts dropped. The alcohol, the adrenaline, it all left our bodies in a split second. We couldn't get out of there fast enough. So we started blasting the Hanuman Chalisa on our phones as we ran. The words didn't even make sense anymore. But that wasn't the end of it. We finally reached the edge of the lane, still shaking, trying to calm down. We decided to stop the car on the road just to get some air. My friends lit their cigarettes, cracked open beer bottles, and tried to calm our nerves by talking about what happened. But as soon as we mentioned the old lady again, one of my friends joked, "Yaar, we should have made a video. Would have been fun, right?" And right then, out of nowhere, the street lights went out. Just snuffed out, like someone flipped a switch. Then we heard that same eerie mumbling. It wasn't just a coincidence anymore. We bolted. We didn't look back, didn't stop. We just fled. We didn't care where we were going as long as it wasn't that place. A year later, during our graduation party, one of my friends suggested we go back. Same club, same idea. But another friend from a different group told us, there's no point. The whole place is guarded now by police patrolling. Something happened there 6 months ago and no one's talking about it. They've completely shut off that side of the cemetery. I still get chills thinking about that night, that feeling of something watching, something pushing us out. To this day, I can't even drive by that place without getting a really weird vibe. Anyway, I have so many stories like this, not mine, but from my cousins and uncles. I'll share them with you someday if you want. But yeah, I hope this gave you the chills like it did me.
What a way to end an episode ridden with adrenaline,
Yep.
alcohol,
Flickering lights.
flickering lights that go off when Manasi says dark. Yeah, this one's been fun.
This one's been really fun. I hope you guys enjoyed it.
I
as
hope
much
you
as
guys
we did,
enjoyed
yeah.
it. There's something different we tried. And if you didn't enjoy it, well, grab a beer if you're
And
over,
try again.
if you're over 18 in Goa.
Yeah.
And then depending on the age limit of your state or the country you live in. But from us at Desi Crime and the Desi Crime Retreat, it's cheers, stay safe, stay crazy, stay Desi. Woo!
Woo!
Good stuff.
Very
Now to the fun
nice.
part. So for winning this competition by unanimous decision, we can all agree Mansi is the winner. And Mansi gets a hamper from my muse, which has some very fun things inside of it. And thank you for the amazing cocktail you made, Mansi. It was a lot of fun.
welcome.
Yeah. Lovely. Rolling, this is the punishment.
Where's the mic?
It's clipped.
I can't. What am I supposed to do?
Short. अरे ऐसे ही पी पाओगे वरना पी नहीं पाओगे. Anyway, आपको तीनों पीने हैं. Okay. Round shot number 1. Maria lost by a mile, and this stays in. Yeah. Okay. Go.
Let's go.
Come on. Where we are here for you. Come on.
Oh my god.
Okay. Yeah. I'm not forcing you to finish that. That's fine. कोई बात नहीं.
That's finished.
That's fine. But don't do that with the others. Don't leave in. मैं इसमें कर रहा हूँ माँ क्योंकि आप
मेरा मुंह छोटा है.
हाँ
जाए.
बोलता बहुत है. चलो कर. Evan, are you recording?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shabash, what a champ.
Go there, quick. Good thing. Yeah. Woo! Superb.
This is very bad.
Over. Last one.
Short. Just
Swallow it.
Keep it in your mouth.
Let's go, dude. Shabash, mere sher.
A few moments later.
If you like what we do here at Desi Studios and absolutely love what we're wearing today, this is merch you can go buy all for yourself.
You can buy this Desi Crime merch in our YouTube store on the link down below at Kadak Merch. Keep the engines at Desi Studios rolling so we can pay our videographer right behind the camera to make these amazing episodes just for you.